When it comes to horror, Japan doesn't play it safe. These films can be dark, surreal, and deeply unsettling, the kind that stay in your head long after they're over. But if you're ready to test your limits, here are 8 films you've probably never seen. This is a strange and unsettling film that stands out for its mix of violence, surreal imagery, and eccentric characters. It follows Hirosuke, a young medical student who escapes from an insane asylum with no memory of why he was there or who he really is. He assumes the identity of a dead man who looks exactly like him and ends up on a remote island ruled by a mad scientist and his mutated creations. The story moves from the cold, clinical setting of the asylum to a theatrical, surreal world on the island. The malformed men are portrayed with exaggerated performances, elaborate visuals, and grotesque physical designs that make them appear barely human. Wild, campy, and drenched in fake blood, Tokyo Gore Police is a non-stop spectacle for fans of extreme Japanese horror. In a twisted future, self-mutilation is not just accepted, it's fashionable. The police have been privatized, and their main job is hunting engineers, people whose genetic modifications let them turn any wound into a deadly weapon. What follows is pure chaos, endless bloodshed, sword fights, and some of the strangest characters ever put on screen. There's a woman with an alligator's lower body, another who sprays acid from her chest, and a villain who fires claws from guns mounted in his eye sockets. Nagisa is a young actress cast in a movie about a brutal mass murder that happened at a local hotel decades ago. Before filming even starts, she begins seeing the ghosts of the victims, visions that grow more intense once the cameras roll. The story blends violent scares with strange ideas about past lives, where characters from the past seem to merge with the present. The shifting timelines and hallucinations make it hard to tell what's real, mirroring Nagisa's own unraveling mind. This Japanese slasher has nothing to do with Sam Raimi's trilogy, but it's just as gory, maybe even more extreme. A late-night TV host gets an anonymous tape that looks like a snuff film. She traces it to an abandoned factory and heads there with her crew. Soon, a hooded killer starts hunting them down one by one. The movie feels inspired by Lucio Fulci's work: brutal death scenes, incredible practical effects, and eerie cinematography that keeps the tension high. It's a bit too long, and some scenes push the limits, but the completely insane ending makes it worth the ride. This Japanese anthology tells 5 unsettling short stories, each linked not by plot, but by emotion. The common thread is pain and sadness, explored in completely different ways. One of the most disturbing segments follows a mother of twins who adores one child but despises the other. The unwanted twin tries to escape her cold, violent abuse, leading to scenes of relentless physical punishment that are hard to watch. In contrast, the final story shifts to computer animation, showing a lone man in a post-apocalyptic world as he slowly learns about life and death. The tone and style change completely, but the underlying sense of suffering remains across all the stories. This is a highly controversial film, featuring explicit and unsettling content that pushes the limits of taste and morality. It begins in the 1950s, when a man breaks into a wealthy home and assaults the wife in front of her husband. Afterward, she becomes pregnant. Enraged, her husband blames her and begins years of violent abuse, which also extend to the child. The wife, ashamed and tormented, eventually takes her own life. The story then shifts to Tatsuya, the son, now an adult. 20 years later, he has become as twisted as both his biological father and stepfather, continuing their patterns of cruelty. Despite its shocking content, the film was made with a large budget, resulting in high production values that make its impact even stronger. Rinko works at a psychological support hotline and lives a quiet, uneventful life with her husband, whose obsession with cleanliness has left their marriage without intimacy. During Japan's rainy season, she receives an envelope from an unknown sender containing compromising photos of herself. Soon after, the stranger calls and begins to blackmail her. Following his instructions, Rinko wanders the wet city streets, carrying out strange and unsettling tasks that force her to confront hidden parts of herself. Director Shinya Tsukamoto shifts the focus from violence to repressed desire, exploring sexuality through atmosphere and mood. The film's distinctive look comes from being shot in black and white, then printed on color film, giving every frame a deep blue tint. Shot on a minimal budget, it's a strange and unsettling mix of art film and psychological horror. Yuka is persuaded by her manager to come home with him. Once inside, his unstable behavior takes over, alternating between moments of control, unsettling displays like applying makeup to her, and collapsing into a fetal position. Set almost entirely in a bare apartment, the film builds a sense of claustrophobia, blending the man's paranoia with fragments of his thoughts and reality. Silence plays as important a role as the disturbing acts themselves, with long stretches free of dialogue.